I mean, their programming is I think, steeped in that, misogynistic, sexist narrative about women behaving badly and shame and bullying. And I feel like that's why I didn't really trust the system. To get around to my point, which I don't remember what it was, but like, I don't really trust the system because I felt like that's what the culture was. And you could see that they were rewarding the people who were really, I think, beyond the pale in their behavior. I mean, a perfect example is Luann when she got arrested for assaulting the law enforcement and drunken behavior and stuff. But also you can see now in other franchises. I mean, I feel like in New York, they're just like, oh, like petty criminals, right? Just like DUI, lots of DUIs, lots of assaults, lots of, this sort of low level. But, in other cities, from, I don't know anything firsthand, but from what I see on the news and in social media, that, there's real problem with alleged criminal activity among the housewives and associates and Bravo benefits from that.
So you don't follow like the Erica Jane case or anything like that?
Hulu does a lot of Hulu's doing a series or something on Housewives.
They did the Housewife and the Hustler, yeah.
Housewife and the Hustler.
Which was part ABC.
They contacted me early on, and they used this kind of, because it's sort of quasi done through ABC, an ABC production house.
Right.
So they contacted me and they're like, oh, we have some mutual colleagues. And so I emailed back. I said, I don't know anything about who's Erica and her husband. I don't know about the case. I know what I read on social media mostly. And what I hear, and I don't really want to, I have nothing to add to that. And they were like, no, we want you to put it in context. Like, what is it about housewives that they're finding themselves in these? Because Teresa, I think, from New Jersey had been in not a similar situation, but there was bank fraud and wire fraud. And she ended up, I mean, it's insane to think, but she spent a year in prison.
Yes.
Crazy. I met her. She's actually lovely. I mean, I don't know. But that was a victimless crime. Okay. I mean, it was bank fraud.
Right.
So they're ratcheting it up, but I don't know. I don't want to participate in the Hulu thing. But then last week they contacted me again. They're doing another one. This is because I'm sure it was really well rated. I'm sure it got a lot, whatever, however Hulu gets their ad money.
The first one was for Erica, right? And now they contacted you again for Jen Shah, probably.
Yeah, Jen Shah, they're doing Jen Shah, and she's the subject of an FBI investigation. And this is like serious charges and serious allegations about a criminal activity where there's victims, old people, widows, tragedy. I mean, it's just like, at some point, I don't want anything to do with it. And I told them no also, because I don't want to be part of that. And I know how they want to use me to they always well, no, but you need to elevate it and put it in context. And is it that, why are all these women getting indicted or in trouble or associated with? And we need you to, so I'm not interested in really putting that in context for their show. But, I can only say that to be on a reality show is very risky. You risk a lot. And I'm including myself. I risked a lot. I had a lot to lose. I had a careers and family. And so there's a certain level of risk that women in this case are willing to take to be on the show, right? So, and when you cast a show like that, there'll always be women who have risked a lot, and their level of risk is high, right? So,
yeah,
and it's not only in their personal lives and how they deal with husbands or ex-husbands, and it can spill over into their business life, right? So you're already dealing with people who take on a lot of risk. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons. What comes first? The show? Does the show make them behave that way, or they innately were all willing to take a risk? And if you're willing to take a risk on a reality show, that means maybe in the past you were willing to take a risk in another area of your life. And I mean, mean, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I do get a lot of those calls, a lot of, can you do an interview about this and put into context? And but I don't do it. This is not a TV, this is not a news program. This is a podcast.
Were they upset with you at ABC when you said no to the air? Because
No,
they actually used two people who were housewives in the past in it, and I'm sure they will for Jen Shah too.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, it's not really ABC, and I don't have much loyalty to ABC that I'm going to choose ABC's feelings over my own, serenity. Like I don't need to be out there on a major TV documentary about a woman who I've never met and about a show that I'm now, out of for 3 years. And, I don't want to jump back in there in that way. And they did end up I asked them if they were going to have any other housewives and who they were. And they said, well, we're not, I didn't trust it. Well, we're not sure. I wasn't going to do it anyway, but I just wanted to know who they were sort of knocking. I think they knocked on everyone's door.
They didn't give you any. I think they knocked on everyone's door.
Yeah. And then they're knocking again, or at least they knocked again on mine, but I'm not.
I was going to say, that's an interesting theory though, about like, if you took a risk on a reality show, like that's kind of maybe, I mean, I never really thought of it that way. I mean, I know like we're not experts, but it maybe is a correlation that you're just a risk taker in other aspects. And that's how these people get themselves
not
in
like
trouble.
You're not a risk taker and you've led a very conventional conservative life. And then Andy knocks on your door and you want to be on the Housewives, and you're like, oh my God, that's amazing. I'll do that. Like there's certain, and I took risks in my career in different ways. I mean, some would say it's risky to go to Afghanistan during the war or the Gulf War. It was risky for me even to leave my small little town in upstate New York and move to the big city. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have connections. I just, that was a big risk because I could have stayed in my small town and, married my high school boyfriend, my college boyfriend, and lived happily ever after. But I was willing to take risks,
That makes sense. And speaking of Andy, why do you think, because to your point, like, why do you think this whole thing got blown out of proportion that, like you said, you guys were such good friends and you say that was,
that was, I think that was Bravo generated. I never went around saying Andy and I are really great friends. And I never said that. I mean, now, of course, someone will pull up some quote where I'm like, there isn't a quote that says like Andy and I are best friends, or we weren't. And so I feel like I'm lazy in that way. I'm a journalist by nature and training, and I just like the facts. So like, I don't really have to remember things that I said because it's just the truth 10 years ago is the truth today, the most part. Right. So
that's a better way to be. It's hard to remember all the things you say if they're lies.
Lies, right? That's why, Housewives get caught up in that.